it's Ryan Charles with ALCOVA Mortgage in Midlothian, and today I want to talk to you about the 3 out-of-pocket costs you'll incur when you buy a house. So even if you have a 100% loan, you're going to have a few out-of-pocket costs during the process. The first is an earnest money deposit. Now, you're not going to have to part with this money until you're under contract on the house you're buying. It's negotiable between the buyer and seller. The seller typically sets it, the buyer has to meet it, but they can negotiate it. And what it is a sum of money that's given from the buyer. It's held in escrow on behalf of the buyers, so that way in good faith they plan to buy this house. The seller's going to stop marketing the house once the house is under contract typically, and then if for some reason the buyer doesn't finish, then the seller gets to keep the earnest money deposit. Now, if it's no fault of their own, typically the buyer gets the earnest money deposit back. So usually it's like $1,000, but it's usually a function of the sales price. So higher sales price, higher earnest money deposit. That's your first out-of-pocket cost. The second is a home inspection. Now, a home inspection is completely optional, but strongly recommended. We don't want a copy of it. We don't need a copy of it. But I wouldn't buy a house without one. But again, it is optional. The home inspection is going to last 3 or 4 hours. It's going to cost $300 to $500 depending on the size of the house, location of it. And the home inspection, they poke and prod hard. It's going to be a long PDF report of everything that's deficient in the home. And then you can go back and negotiate, if you want it fixed or if they're going to reduce the price of the result. But anyway, you know what you're buying after a home inspection. The third out-of-pocket cost, and a lot of times people confuse home inspection with this one. It's an appraisal. They're completely different. The appraiser's only at the house for 20 minutes or so. He's going to snap some photos, take some measurements, and go back, and then 90% of that work is going to be done behind a desk, because in an appraisal they use comparables to develop value. And an appraisal does 2 things. It establishes valuation, which means that in a purchase transaction, the appraised value has to support the sales price. The second thing it does is make sure the house is in good enough and safe enough condition for the buyer to live in. So it sounds like kind of common sense, but main culprit typically is water. But making sure that really it's the bank's interest they want to protect, so that way if something happens once the buyer moves in, that they don't go back and sue the bank. The appraiser's the eyes and ears to the house, because the loan underwriter never steps foot inside the house. That's what the appraisal's for. So again, that's going to establish value and make sure the house is safe. 3 out-of-pocket costs: the earnest money deposit, the home inspection, and the appraisal fee. Ryan Charles, ALCOVA Mortgage. Of course, there's a lot of information to digest. Call, email, text anytime if you have questions or concerns. It'll be my pleasure to talk with you about real estate. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. Bye.